The Flames have now dropped 3 straight after winning 4 straight at home. Where, oh where, have our Calgary Flames gone?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today, we're going to be recapping the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets in the emotional matchup between the two teams, as well as looking ahead to tomorrow's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's dive right into the difference makers. Typically for difference makers, I like to talk about like specific players because I think that that's typically what a difference maker is. But sometimes it's not as tangible, I guess, is that. Today we're going to talk about like the events in the game that I felt shifted things and made a difference. Obviously, emotions were high this afternoon. I could have told you, anyone could have told you that going into today's game, it was going to be tough. It was going to be very emotional, and a lot of that translated onto the ice. And that's not it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that at some point, regardless of which team it is, you have to channel that into productive energy. And I would say that the Blue Jackets came out on top there. Obviously, they won 5-2. One thing I do have to say is Martin Pospisil's physicality did not go unnoticed at all. It's actually kind of funny because people were talking about it, I believe, after the Detroit game, saying that, like he hasn't been throwing his body around. He hasn't been as physical. He hasn't fought anyone really since the home opener against Philly. And someone, I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Wes Gilbertson or Pat Steinberg, but it was someone within the Flames media mentioned that, did that spook him? Did his fight, did that kind of push him back to reality? And, he's not, Zdeno Chara. But today we did see him get physical, and it didn't really work in his favor. The fight against Olivier was really, it was instigated by Olivier. Like, there's absolutely no doubting that. And that came after Pospisil fought Christensen. But I don't necessarily have an issue with Braden Pahal stepping in. Martin Pospisil, as we all know, has a concussion history. So this is why I feel like he's been extra careful with choosing his battles. His last concussion nearly took him out of professional hockey before he played his first NHL game. But I think that Pahal, coming in and kind of, really he's like the third man, but he took over for Pospisil, I guess. You can look at it that way. It's not great. I think fighting and really that level of physicality, like the boarding on Joel Hanley, really, there's a time and a place for it. I think that the fight after Olivier had boarded Hanley is acceptable. I don't really, we talk about it all the time and how the Flames don't really necessarily have someone to retaliate and like respond to physicality against them, and so be it. Like that's not okay. And they stood up for themselves, so, and their teammate, and that's what it comes down to. Ryan Lomberg also got his life rocked upside down. I don't think I've ever seen somebody lose a fight that bad. That was embarrassing. I feel really bad for Lomberg, to be entirely honest. His hair looked great while he was fighting, but I feel like all of that was kind of, it took away from what the Flames could have been doing. And that's why I have it as a difference maker. The Flames couldn't do it by scoring, so they did it with physicality and or lack thereof. And of course, Blake Coleman was able to get the Flames on the board, but they were still down 3-1. And then Gaudreau scored on the power play, and there was really nothing else the Flames could do at that point in the third period that was going to save them. And it stinks. It's not, this isn't fun. Losing isn't fun. And I think, the Flames were obviously looking to snap the little losing skid that they're on today in a very meaningful game. And it didn't happen. And now they're heading to Pittsburgh to wrap up their road trip. 4 games in, I think, just as many days. 4 games in 5 days or something like that. It has been a long road trip, and it's not an excuse, but they really need to get it together. We're going to talk more about the game against Pittsburgh coming up a little bit later, but it doesn't need to be as hard as today was, play-wise. But coming up next, we're going to break it down by the numbers, because there are just so many numbers that I can't even begin to delve into them, because the Flames were all over the map tonight. But we will be right back after this. Game Time is the app you need to be checking out if you are a sports fan or if you enjoy going to live events like concerts, comedy shows, or theater. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for these live events even easier. I used Game Time Picks to see the Flames in Montreal as well as Edmonton, and it was unbelievably easy. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. I mean it when I say I used that feature and found my seats within 2 to 3 clicks and was out of the app and purchased within 5 to 7 minutes. So easy and hassle-free. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Game Time's ticket coverage has your purchase covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And speaking of making the most out of your money, Built Rewards is what you need. PSA for anyone who rents: if you haven't heard of Built, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through Built. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use towards flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent that you can end on your everyday spending. Built can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of yet. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world where you can redeem your Built points towards. Points can also be redeemed toward future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points today, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnhl. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl to start earning points on your rent payments today. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. Boy, oh boy. Normally these breakdown by the numbers in the past, these past few days, past 2 games have been tough, right? Like the Flames have lost. Right before this, they won 4 straight, so it was a lot more fun to talk about. But there is still some goodness in this gray area right now. So let's get the bad news out of the way first, and that's Dustin Wolf's save percentage after tonight's game, an .879. Woof. That does not feel very Dustin Wolf. That does not feel like the Wolf that we know. Obviously, these games happen. Sometimes your team's just not in it. Not like not competitive wise, but sometimes like they're not there. And I don't want to make excuses because it's really not fair, but Columbus does have some really talented goal scorers and they showed up today. But they did much better on the faceoff dot earlier today than they did earlier this week. They went from a 41% to a whopping 50%. I know that's crazy. They split right down the middle. That's trending in the right direction. It's obviously it's 50%, it's half, which is good. I think you should be at that 50% threshold or higher. Any less, that's definitely not great. The Flames do struggle at the faceoff dot. We know this. We know that's why they're chasing a young center, because they need someone who is aggressive on the dot and someone that has that defensive style and skill that they need. But I mean, there's really nothing you can do. It's going to be like what are you going to do? Hold face-off battles at practice like you're battling and duking out like Beyblades or Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Like what? I feel like there are so many times where this team does need to like fall back on fundamentals. So honestly, I wonder if like a skills presentation would be great. I wonder if that's something that they might need, because sometimes they just feel a little like they've strayed a little far from the fundamentals and foundation you need to be a truly successful NHL player and team. But good news. I have more good news. They have had a power play goal in 6 straight games. That is right. You heard me. 6 straight games with a power play goal. That does not feel right to say. I don't know if they scored 6 power play goals in all of October. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. But I think with the way, like, it's fantastic that they're able to score on the man advantage. Like, I'm not going to take that for granted by any means. I think that they need to find offense wherever they can, but that shouldn't be the only time you're scoring. You have to figure out a way to generate 5-on-5 offense, because that's really what you're playing most of the game. And we know that their penalty kill, I don't really necessarily think is going out there and scoring shorthanded goals on a regular basis. But they did rack up 19 penalty minutes, but they did only have 2 power plays. So, it's pretty good. Again, converting at a 50% rate. Love to see that. That's fantastic. 100% penalty kill. Like, these are all great pieces for this team. They just need less of the bad, less of the negative, flaws and mistakes in the game. I think that would be very beneficial to them, because they have a lot of good things going for them, but it's another situation of them not being able to stay out of their own way a lot of the times. They also blocked 10 shots. Mackenzie Weegar had 7 blocked shots the other night. He did lead the team today with 3 blocked shots as well. That's crazy. And Columbus had 20 blocked shots. So I'm sure they're also very dinged up and sore. But coming up next, we're going to talk about what's coming up tomorrow in the Steel City of Pittsburgh and what what might we expect going into this, especially at the end of a road trip on the second half of a back-to-back. And we will be right back after this. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL app, live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So maybe tomorrow you place an anytime Sidney Crosby goal. I mean, why not? Maybe an anytime Nazem Kadri goal, or 3+ shots for Mackenzie Weegar, Rasmus Andersson, something like that. You can do that all on FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a moment or hunch never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And now that today is done, the Flames are heading one state over to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, from Columbus, Ohio. Both teams will be on second halves of a back-to-back. The Flames, I would say, have a little bit of an advantage because their game did finish earlier. So they'll have a little bit more of a recovery time, where the Penguins actually just finished their game against the Bruins. They won 2-1 in Boston, so they also have to travel back. But the Penguins are struggling. They have had a very tough start to the season, and the reality of the dynasty coming to an end, it is evident, it is clear, it is staring them right in the face. I thought that, I think Mike Sullivan does get more of a grace period, or a little bit more grace, whatever the case may be. Number one, because of his coaching resume. And I think that, he obviously has a fantastic resume with Pittsburgh. And I feel like you would do more damage to your team if you fired him. Because obviously the core players have pretty much always played for him. So we'll have to see. Obviously you have a very seasoned and experienced coach going up against Ryan Huska, who's still, fresh meat in the game. And you also have two veteran cores going up against each other. And obviously you're playing against Sidney Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. So you have your work cut out for you, regardless of their 9-12-4 record. But coming back to the trade rumors from yesterday, nothing else has transpired. There's nothing really new to report other than Höglander from Vancouver is potentially being shopped around. This is one of the names we hear constantly. I feel like him and Capo Caco from New York are constantly thrown into this conversation of players looking to be moved during the season, for like fresh starts or whatever the case may be. And he's 24 years old. He does fit what the Flames are looking for. And we do know the Flames have a history of trading with Vancouver within the last 12 months. So we'll have to see if there's any truth to that, or if the Flames are maybe thinking of someone entirely different, because, there are a lot of players that the Flames could potentially pick, especially after yesterday's report of them, of the person they're looking to trade for potentially being a bigger name than originally suspected. So that is going to be something to keep an eye on. I don't know. Trevor Zegras' name keeps coming up too, and I don't think Anaheim's moving him for cheap. I also don't know. Depending on what the Flames would need to give up, it could be a high reward, low-ish risk, high reward situation. That's definitely something you can dive into more down the road. But speaking of players that have been dinged up and Vancouver, Andrei Kuzmenko had a nice, was on the receiving end of body check from Jake Christensen during this afternoon's game. And this was the fight that led to the first Martin Pospisil fight. It was a clean hit by all means. I think it looked like a lot worse, if you will, because like Kuzmenko just lost any and all momentum and just fell right on his butt. Like it just took everything away from what he had going on. And for a player that has not scored in almost 2 months, we need whatever we can get from him in terms of finishing, and just having some sort of confidence, because there's really not much there, I would say. And hopefully he finds his flair back. But with that being said, I do wonder if we're going to miss some players tomorrow, because, again, this is the second 4-game road trip out of the last 11 games. So the last 8 out of 11 games. No, that's a lie. That is a lie. The last 8 out of 12 games have been on the road. And it's tough. It's very tough. And we know that these guys play physical. And Mackenzie Weegar has missed practices because of maintenance days, and we've seen him throw his body in front of every puck. I wouldn't be shocked if some players are banged up tomorrow. Maybe Pospisil. I don't think so. It didn't look like he got anything too bad. Joel Hanley, I would suspect, is not playing tomorrow. So we'll probably see Jake Bean or Tyson Barrie in Which, I mean, I do like Joel Hanley. I think he's a good guy, good player. Does what you need him to do. But we'll have to wait and see. The Flames don't play until 5 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow, which is good. They'll have time to, get out there in the morning after resting. I wouldn't blame them if it's more of an option. I would think tomorrow's an optional skate maybe. But it's also it's a later game. So you never know. But with it being a back-to-back. So lots to look forward to here in Calgary Flames Nation. And it is the last November show. So thank you. If you've listened through the month of November or through the season at all, I greatly appreciate you. And we'll be carrying, obviously, through the show daily through December. And I can't wait because December is a good month, mainly because it's my birthday. But I feel like we start to see more trades because teams are realizing, oh, I got to do something to save my season. So that'll do it for me today on Locked On Flames. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay cool, stay hydrated, and remember to be kind.